The Special Investigating Unit wants President Cyril Ramaphosa to expand its mandate to investigate procurement irregularities at the National Lotteries Commission as it stands. The unit is only investigating corruption involving grants. For more on this, we're able to speak to National Lotteries Commission Chair Professor Barney Pityana. Prof, a very good evening to you. What we're talking to you about tonight was reported on recently by the team at Ground Up. Are you able to confirm that the details we've seen in public are indeed as you know them, that there is this push for an expansion of the scope of what the SIU needs to probe?
Good evening, Chembegile. Good evening to your viewers. Last year, early last year, the board of the National Lotteries Commission, upon considering the management report and the annual financial statements from the Auditor General of South Africa, and upon considering the report from next year, which had been mandated by the board, decided that the proclamation that had by then already been given by the President needed to be extended so that the SIU could attend to matters relating principally to the supply chain management, especially as regards the lawyers who were used by the commission, etc. And the board sought the support of the minister, as it is supposed to according to the Act, to persuade the President to extend the mandate, the proclamation of the SIU, which up to that point was actually limited to the grant funding concern that was at that point known. What the Ground Up people are saying, in fact, is something that had been in process for almost a year. And we're delighted as the board that it does seem that SIU has taken hold of our report, and indeed it is being actioned. We're hoping sooner rather than later the new extended proclamation will be made available so that we can start immediately on investigating the SAM processes that we believe are actually a matter of grave concern for the National Lotteries Commission. How
widespread do you believe that fraud as far as procurement of the Commission might be? Because in the Ground Up piece which we're referencing tonight, they say, sources they've spoken to say that it could be massive and might implicate, quote, a lot of National Lotteries Commission staff. Is that your sense?
Emily, we're not able to say that. That is why we're asking for an investigation. We're asking that the matter be investigated because it has occurred in the irregular expenditure in the Auditor General's management report and in the annual financial statements. And it is quite evident that there is some irregular expenditure that is arising from SAM processes. And until the matter is actually fully investigated, as the National Lotteries Commission board, we really are not able to say how extensive, but we feel from the reports that we have, there's sufficient to concern there to request the proclamation of to the SIU.
I'm sure you've heard this, Professor Pityana, when we speak of irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, especially when the AG reports come out, we've heard ministries and government and municipalities, in fact, often saying, well, it doesn't mean that there's necessarily been a crime committed, just that record-keeping perhaps or processes followed in procurement weren't up to date, not necessarily a crime. And I know that you're saying there's much still unknown, but again, is the feeling at the Commission at this point that much of what was queried in the AG report, in fact, may very well point to a crime other than just, let's say, the bending of rules without the intention to personally benefit, so to speak?
As you know, the Auditor General is mandated to investigate and to audit all public accounts of the country. We have to take the Auditor General's report seriously. When the Auditor General says that the was irregular expenses that were incurred, and that the supply chain processes were not observed. It's a matter serious enough for us as a board to do something. We're working on it at two levels, if I may go further. At one level, disciplinary processes are underway. About 5 people who have been cited in the Auditor General's reports about various levels of SCM processes are undergoing disciplinary processes as I speak. But the second level is where we felt that it was our duty to get to this matter as in a level of depth as possible, so that we really understand what is happening and the extent of it. That is why we need the SIU to do this, because we cannot do it ourselves as the board of the NLC.
And how many of your staff, your officials, are currently undergoing disciplinary processes in relation to the issues around procurement, perhaps what's already been dealt with, and even the other investigation to do with the grants?
The investigations are ongoing. As I say, the disciplinary processes are underway, and the SIU has done a considerable amount of work, and they tell us that they have submitted a number of dockets, for example, to the NPA, and they are looking forward to seeing the prosecutions as a result of that. You know, I know, and we know that the SIU has achieved retention of the assets of the NLC, and what we're looking for now is the assets forfeiture unit to begin to claim back the assets that have been illegally, unlawfully, criminally procured.
And how would you say the NLC is running now? Are there strict enough measures in place to make sure that there isn't a repeat of what's happened as recently as in the last 2 to 3 years during the COVID-19 pandemic?
That's the whole idea. The whole idea is to reorganize. It's not just, by the way, what we're doing is not just working retrospectively in criminally dealing with people who have been accused or fingered in wrongdoing, but we're also having to reorganize the culture of the organization so that these things don't ever happen afresh again. There's new executives that are coming on stream. We're looking at the organizational culture. We need to open up the organization. It doesn't become, once again, an organization that is based on distrust and secrecy, in which this kind of wrongdoing was finding fertile ground. So more is required in the organization. I think what we're doing with the SIU, with the disciplinary processes, is really, quite honestly, one aspect of a bigger challenge that we have.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. National Lotteries Commission Chairperson, Professor Barney Pityana. Thank you for your time, sir.